Hello, everybody. This is Brian Ankney with AutoSuccess magazine. Hey, I appreciate y'all taking the time out of your day to join Ted and I today. Today, my guest is Ted Dupuis from Flick Fusion. Today, we're going to talk about the Quid Pro Quo Concept. Hopefully, we're all going to learn a whole heck of a lot about video and how it can help us to sell more cars, have happier customers, and earn more money. A couple of things that I would like to go over before we get started. First of all, questions. We're going to hold all the questions till the end of the webinar. Please type them in as we go, though. If you look to the right side of your screen, if you're on a laptop or a tablet, you should have your GoToWebinar pane, and near the bottom of that pane it'll say questions. Just to the left of that is a plus sign. Click that plus sign, type in your questions, and I will address all the questions at the end. Now, if you're using a smartphone, Apple or Android, it's a little bit trickier. You have a frame that goes around your screen. And somewhere on that frame, either the top or bottom, there'll be a question mark depending on your device. You hit that question mark, and it allows you to type in questions. Now, to get back to the webinar is a little tricky. I've had some comments that a few people have gotten kicked out of the webinars. When you type your question in and you're finished, there's a thing that looks like a monitor, like one of those flat screen monitors people used to have with desktop PCs. If you click that, it takes you back to the webinar. And if you happen to get kicked out, just come back and join us again. Now, one last thing before we get started. For those of you who have not already joined AutoSuccess webinars, please do. It's a group on Facebook. You just type in AutoSuccess webinars in the search. It'll bring it up. Request to join the group. Now, in this group, you'll have the ability to communicate with our speakers as well as AutoSuccess staff. You can make suggestions about our webinars. If there's a topic you'd love to see covered or a certain person you'd love for me to invite, please go there and let me know. Now, the greatest value of AutoSuccess webinars is your ability to interact with each other. Now today, we're going to cover some fairly complex stuff. I mean, video's not easy. That's why y'all came here to learn more about it. And so you're going to probably have pages of notes, steps and steps and days or weeks of implementation. And as you try to implement the new ideas that you learned today, you're all going to have successes and failure. I invite you to share those in AutoSuccess webinars and help each other through this process of becoming better at using video to sell more cars. Well, with that being said, I'd like to introduce Ted Dupuis. He's with Flick Fusion. Ted, say hello and take us away, my friend.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Brian, so much for having me today, and look forward to moving forward with this. So with that being said, this presentation, this is what I would like to accomplish. And to some of you, maybe introduce these ideas for a first time, and for some of you, maybe refresh to memory. The leveraging of three key ideologies or social rules that, as we in the auto industry, need to keep in the forefront of our marketing endeavors to maximize our efforts with your website, and more specifically, the vehicle description page. Hands down, is the best advertisement you have for your vehicle. Two things I am certain of with everyone in the audience today. Either you have children or you were a child. So either you can relate to the story I'm about to tell as having had the pleasure of parenthood, or you have had the pleasure of being the child. But where my story starts is with my first child. The first child is always the experiment in parenting, right? And hopefully we get wiser with the lessons we learn from these first attempts from parenting. Well, hopefully we do. When my oldest daughter was around 2, we were shopping in a Target store very close to Christmas time. Now, when I say close to Christmas, it was probably Christmas Eve. My list was long and my time was short. Now, every time I had taken her shopping in the past, I usually had the patience for her to attempt to grab everything within arm's reach. But today, I didn't have the time. But for her, though, this day was no different than any other shopping trip. She was restless sitting in the shopping cart. And I thought it was a clever idea to let her play with a toy from the toy aisle to keep her occupied while I concentrated on what I was shopping for. Now, I had no intent on buying this toy, but this is valuable information she needed to know. But even if I had conveyed it to her, I would have fallen on deaf ears, as she at that age had no concept of quid pro quo, the foundation of our social interactions as a society, giving goods or services in return for goods and services. In this case, a toy to play with in return for some time to shop undisturbed. So I immediately headed for the toy section. Now, there was a brightly colored ball that caught her eye, and she was very intrigued with it. It seemed harmless, non-breakable toy. It was something that could be easily put back on the shelf when my shopping was done. Even though it was still in its cardboard display box, it didn't matter to her. She was happy. Now, with her occupied, I started on my shopping. Man, I thought I was a genius. I whizzed through the aisles, not being distracted, with my restless 2-year-old grasping at everything. Now, let's fast forward to the end of this great endeavor. When it came time to check out and put the toy back, here was where I learned a lot about the 3 fundamentals or social rules, which are learned at a very young age or relearned at a very old age. Reciprocity. Though my daughter was in the stages of learning this concept that we as parents understand and try to impart on our children in the form of, if you do what I request, you will be rewarded in kind. Whether she understood the concept or not, she reciprocated nonetheless. I gave her something to get something in return. And it worked like a champ. Man, I was proud of myself. Clever father of the year is what I was thinking. Not so much. Let me get to the other lessons, and then I will definitely circle back. Psychological ownership. When I handed that toy to my daughter, she instantly took psychological ownership of it. It was hers. After all, it was what she had picked out from all the other toys. It had caught her eye, and she knew she would enjoy it. Now, with that being said, let's get to the third fundamental aspect, trust. When it came time to check out and we had to put the toy up, she was trusting that it was coming with us. Oh boy, talk about a meltdown. Talk about a lesson learned. When attempting to peel it from her grasp, from her psychological ownership, trust went through the floor and reciprocity went out the window. In the end, she had a very brightly colored ball that became a dust collector at home. But we won't get into guilt today. In today's digital arena, it is imperative that we engage with our customers, understanding that there are social fundamentals that we can leverage to garner more out of what we already have or are planning to implement through invoking or building trust, leveraging reciprocity, and garnering psychological ownership. With that being said, I'm assuming everyone on this webinar is either using video or is planning on using video. That's awesome. If you're on the fence on this issue, well, let me just share this. In November of 2015, Google published, now remember, that was a year ago, that 69% of car buyers' purchase decisions had been influenced by video. That's huge. Here we are a year later. Do you think that that percentage has gone down, or is it rather going up? Let's take a look at these 3 fundamental or social rules and answer these questions that get raised on a daily basis in each one of your dealerships. How do we get more customers to work with us? How do we get more leads from our website? How can we get them attached to the car from just our website? Let's first take a look at invoking or building trust with your prospective customer. The definition of trust, according to the dictionary, is this: belief that someone or something is reliable, good, honest, and effective. Now, these are words in the past that have not been necessarily associated with car dealers. So let's look at Professor Roy Lewicki's explanation on trust, is that it's an individual's belief in and willingness to act on the basis of the words, actions, and decisions of others. It's great. In general, we want people to trust us, both as people and as organizations. Having trust dispels fears and gains others' confidence. And when we have a person's confidence, man, we have their business. Trust has been dogging dealerships for years. And this isn't news to any of you. It hasn't been recently created. It hasn't been associated with our industry over many decades. People don't trust car dealers. It is so ingrained in customers that in that itself could be used as a social rule. Building trust with your customer all the way through the buying cycle, from the first engagement to the delivery of the purchase to ensure repeat business, is vital, and we could spend a day analyzing all the different ways you could do so. But what if we focus on the first engagement? What if they are just on your website? What if they haven't even seen your website homepage yet and have landed on your VDP? The VDP, the best advertisement you can produce for what you sell. What if they arrived on your VDP via a third-party site like AutoTrader, Cars.com, or maybe a pay-per-click campaign or an organic search or any other place? And that's awesome. But now they are one back button click away from leaving. How do you build that trust with these customers? You have their interest. They're looking at a vehicle that has their interest, but what is on your VDP that is going to get them to trust you? Price? Could be. Digital customers doing their due diligence are very privy to the pricing of the specific vehicle they are interested in and know what that specific vehicle should cost them. So if your pricing is in line with their perception, you could build trust with them on pricing alone. But based on their perception, the price of your vehicle, either too high or too low, could displace trust. Not so much with the vehicle, but more so with your dealership. What else are customers seeing on your VDP to build trust in your dealership? How about inventory and merchandising? Photos and descriptions of your vehicles build trust. Your dealership can definitely build trust in this department. Do you have 12 photos, or do you have 24 or 30 or 40? What do you think is going to engage the customer more? You know, it was less than 8 years ago that some OEM websites only allowed 4 pictures per vehicle, like 4 to 8. There were even dealers saying the customer knows what the car looks like, we don't need pictures. What if you only have 12 photos of your inventory and your competitor has 24? Whom does that customer trust more? If you don't have enough, they think you're hiding something. And what happens if there's a ding or a dent you didn't get photographed and the customer shows up to feed it? They're not going to like that. Make sure if there's an imperfection that you show it. This is a trust builder. And what about an inventory video? A video shows everything in between the photos. Talk about a trust builder. We're going to touch on an inventory video later. Let's talk about another way to build trust on your VDP, comments and reviews. Maybe you have a place where you build trust with a customer by where they read in text of the warranty that you extend to all of your customers. This could be a trust builder if they take time to read. Customers are lazy. I don't like to read. I'd rather hear it. Maybe you have a plugin that displays reviews. That's awesome. This is a great place for them to, again, read in text about the great reviews that customers have given you with regard to your dealership. These are awesome additions and great trust builders. But again, you're relying on the customer to read them and stay on your site versus going to the review page where they could be one click away from a competitor that is in your neck of the woods that may have a better review. The About Us page. In any event, maybe you guys are relying on your About Us page, which takes them off the VDP but keeps them on your site. Most About Us pages contain long paragraphs of text with content about your dealership and why they should buy from you. But this also is a great place to have a value proposition video. And if your About page is that compelling, you should definitely have a submission form on this page, not just contact information. Maybe a value proposition video or testimonial video on your VDP. Now we're talking. This is great. Great placement for getting in front of the shopper at the very moment they need to see it. As we all know, that video is the medium of choice by our customers. This is the best way to get your trust-building message conveyed. Video has the ability to convey emotion, sincerity, that words and pictures just can't. If you're already doing this, I would say awesome, you believe in the power of video, and you are investing time to do so. My next question is this: is your video hosted on YouTube? And here's why I ask. There are a couple things about hosting website videos on YouTube. First, notice the icon in the tray that says view this video on YouTube. What happens when you do this? Well, you end up watching them on YouTube. What populates around your video, your why buy video, your value proposition video on YouTube? It's a bunch of content that you have no control over what is being populated. Not to mention your customer has a high probability of going elsewhere on YouTube. You lost them. Secondly, you should ask your website provider or your inventory video provider about hosting your value proposition videos instead of on YouTube, so that you can control where the customer goes when they view it and actually what they view. If they find your video on Google Network through a search engine and it's hosted on YouTube, they're going to watch it on YouTube and YouTube gets credit for it. Now, if it is hosted by your website or inventory video provider, when it is searched for on the Google Network, they should come back to your website to view it, and now you get the credit for it. Nice. The above mentioned trust builders are just a few I wanted to key in on, and you may have other ways that you build trust on your VDP that I didn't mention, and I will be circling back to the trust builder video at the end of this. Let's talk about reciprocity. A situation or a relationship in which two people or groups agree to do something similar for each other. In social psychology, reciprocity is a social rule that says people should repay in kind what another person has provided for them. That is, people give back the kind of treatment they have received from another. By virtue of this rule of reciprocity, people are obligated to repay favors, gifts, invitations, etc. in the future. Now, if someone receives a gift for their birthday, a reciprocal expectation may influence them to do the same on the gift giver's birthday. Now, we've all experienced this. Someone you didn't like give you a birthday present, and then you're thinking, I got to give them one back. The sense of future obligation associated with reciprocity makes it possible to build continuing relationship and exchanges. So this social rule is so ingrained on us that we even have a socially accepted name for those that don't reciprocate in kind. We call them freeloaders. Again, we either have kids or we were kids and can relate to a group or class of children playing with a bunch of toys. Now, everybody loves getting them out and playing with them, but when it comes time to pick them up, the one kid that doesn't, he kind of gets shunned by the others. And I'm sure that freeloader is probably the nicest thing that kid has been called. Reciprocity has been ingrained on us from a very early age. So now that we have this knowledge, how can we answer the question, how do we get more leads? We want people, customers, to be compelled to give us their email, number, name, and the vehicle they're interested in. Focusing on the VDP again, assuming that it is the customer's first engagement with us, whether that came about a third-party site, organic search, PPC, wherever, what on your VDP, your best advertisement for your inventory, are you offering in return for that customer's interest, which includes this information? Let's go back to price. This is an impactful strategy. But what are you relying solely on the price of your vehicle to be enough to compel them to put in a lead? If so, how much are you discounting the vehicle to garner this? How much gross are you willing to lose with this strategy? This strategy is in play in so many dealerships, and there is so much more that can be done for that customer to garner their reciprocity than by drilling down the price. And if you have the button request e-price, what trust are you building with that customer? They're thinking, if I didn't request it, would they give it to me anyways? We want to build trust. We're in reciprocity. Well, how about coupons? Incentive-based marketing works great. It's awesome. Classic example of offering the customer monetary benefit if they will do something in return. A test drive, like tickets to a baseball game, football game, or maybe even a gas card. coupons, and price are two examples of reciprocity at work, and they do work well, but both deal with giving away gross. What about ways or actions that get the same result without actually giving them money or giving away gross? Here's the old tried and true and gets honorable mention, request a test drive. Now, having been on both sides of the line of car buying and car selling, I know as a customer that a dealer will put my butt behind the wheel for a test drive without an appointment. But since there is still a decent amount of reciprocal action with this lead generator, it remains a staple on almost everyone's VDP. How about this one? Dealers are getting a great response with this. Check this out. Request a personal walk-around video. Whoa. Again, most of you are already implementing a video strategy in some form or fashion. Awesome. Or you guys are on this webinar because you're in the planning stages with your video strategy. So having your website place this button on your VDP can create a lot of reciprocity. That doesn't cost you anything but maybe 5 to 10 minutes. This is a tailored experience for that specific customer. Not only are you getting their information, but you're erasing their psychological ownership of that vehicle. And I'm going to circle back to that here in just a minute. What an opportunity to get more leads from what you're already utilizing or planning on utilizing. It would be a shame not to have such a great lead generator on your VDP. Understanding reciprocity as a social rule, my objective is to get you to step back, take a look at everything on your VDP as a way to get your prospective customer to reciprocate with their true desire in what you are selling. This includes price of the vehicle, photos, coupons, schedule a test drive, trade-in valuation tools, inventory videos, value proposition videos, personalized walk-around videos. Bump up your game. Again, as the rule of reciprocity states, you're going to be rewarded. Psychological ownership. Now, defined ownership is the state or fact of owning something. But in psychology, ownership is the feeling that something is yours. Psychological ownership is distinct from legal ownership. One may feel that one's cubicle and red stapler at work are theirs and no one else's. But in actuality, the legal ownership of the cubicle and the red stapler is the dealership's. People can feel ownership about a variety of things, products, workspaces, ideas, and roles. An example of ownership is the feeling that the product that you desire is yours and no one else's. If you can get a customer to take mental ownership of what you are offering, if they came to the conclusion that they truly have to have it, trust, price, and reciprocity just went out the window. This is why the test drive is so important. The feel of the wheel seals the deal. But how do we accomplish this on the VDP? Psychological ownership is the hardest endeavor to accomplish, but it has the highest reward. Just like my daughter and her ball, it is definitely worth pursuing. So I have brought up video previously, along with other tools you can utilize. Here's where I'm going to make this statement that I firmly believe. With regard to your inventory, there is no better way to garner mental ownership from a shopper on your website than with a full motion video walk around. Now, I'm going to repeat that in case you're taking notes. If there is anything that you take away today to share with others, it is this. With regard to your inventory, there is no better way to garner mental ownership from a shopper on your website than with a full motion video walk around. Now, mental ownership can be garnered without this, but it is much harder. Charles Osgood, the famed CBS wordsmith, once made this observation. Compared to the spoken word, a picture is a pitiful thing indeed. Zig Ziglar went on to say, we're used to saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and maybe sometimes it is when you're trying to explain something unfamiliar to another person. But pictures simply do not have the ability to lodge themselves in the human heart like words do. This is exactly why video is so desired by your customer. Full motion walk-around videos can initially be a daunting endeavor. The biggest obstacles I hear on a daily basis from dealers is that they feel time and budget are the biggest obstacles. Well, here's an example of a full motion video that took a whole 5 minutes to create. Now, as you view it, there are elements I will agree that you may wish to change within your dealership. Again, whether you are shooting a video or your dealership's photographer or you have a lot service shoot them, what maybe this video lacks in picture-perfect setting with professionally produced footage, it totally makes up in sincerity. Not only do the customers know that this vehicle is on your lot, your customers are seeing the backdrop as if they are actually on your lot. It's huge, a virtual showroom. So when you shoot a video, the full motion directs the viewer's eyes to the vehicle, so you don't have to worry about the setting or where you're shooting. With the right platform, it doesn't take much time at all, 2 to 5 minutes, for less than you spend on coffee and toilet paper in your dealership. It certainly isn't a budget issue. Now, let's leverage these 3 social rules together to work and feed off each other to give you the best advertisement that you can, that has the most impact possible. This is an example of what dealers are finding to be most successful with integrating not only a VIN-specific video, but also value proposition videos, testimonial videos, and similar inventory videos on their VDP. What a great way to build trust, give them something valuable, a reason to engage with you, and most of all, garner their mental ownership of their next vehicle. When you can earn their trust, you earn more business. Give them something of value, and they will give you their time and interest in return, increasing your leads. You garner their mental ownership of the vehicle, and they'll give you the sale in return. In conclusion, these 3 basic, simple social aspects that not only are learned at a very young age, but carry over into forming our actions as we go through our social endeavors, including shopping for cars. Now that we understand these social rules and how we can leverage them with video to increase engagement for our potential customers and also increase our dealership's performance, can be huge. This is the Quid Pro Quo Concept. And I would like to thank you very much for your time and your interest.
Thank you, Ted. That was a great presentation. Yeah, actually, Ted and I were kind of joking yesterday about how long a webinar should be, and I suggested 30 minutes, and that was 28 minutes. You are almost dead on. So yeah, at this point, oh, go ahead. What did you say, Ted?
No, I just said thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Hey, at this point, I'd like to invite everybody to ask some questions. For those of you that weren't on at the very beginning, we had a lot of people who kind of join later. The question pane is on the right side of your screen if you're on a laptop or a desktop, and it should be a frame if you're on a Android or a Apple phone. Either click the plus sign next to the question, next to where it says questions if you're on a computer. If you're on a cell phone, there'll be a question mark. Please type in your questions, and we'll get to all of them. Got a few of them already here, Ted. Okay. Should we do oh, what'd you say?
Nope, I was just responding. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Okay, should we do personal walkarounds for every customer, even in bad weather?
Personal walkarounds, even in bad weather. Well, once you have, depending on it all depends upon the platform that you're using. If you're using YouTube and you've already created one, taken the endeavor to create one, it's kind of hard to reuse that. If you're, depending on the platform that you're using, you should be able to re-record over top of that video over and over again. That's the way we work with it, and our dealers have the opportunity to do so. So yeah, it would be kind of tough if you didn't have the a good platform to work off of. You'd have to reshoot a video every time somebody wanted one.
All right. Should we let salespeople send videos from their phones?
My immediate response would be, if I was the dealer wanting to control the content that was going out of my dealership, I would want to make sure that they were on a, it all resides. If that's all you got, and you trust your salesperson to shoot an appropriate video that you feel that comfortable with the content going out, I guess yes would be the answer. If you're not doing anything other than that. The idea is to control the content that's going out and utilize a platform, your inventory video provider, if you have one, should be able to work with you on that to make sure that the videos that you are sending from your phone are on the platform.
All right. Our next question is, how do we get started with video if we're doing nothing?
How do you get started with video if you're doing nothing? Well, it should, it would all depend upon what your strategy is. If you're a high volume dealer, if you're a low volume dealer, what processes you have in place. With everything that we covered in this presentation, as far as where you guys are at in the process, if you are 100% up to snuff with everything except video, it starts with obviously the inventory videos. As a dealership, you would want to get started with the basic. Let's get some inventory videos out there. Start getting some video search engine optimization based on your processes as far as how you're shooting photos. If you've already got somebody designated for that, it's getting that strategy in place. And what's the end game? Are we, if the end game is everything that I talked about on here, it's getting to that point where you have your inventory videos and then scaling into live video walkarounds and custom voiceovers on those live video walkarounds.
All right. Well, it looks like those are all of our questions for today. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to join us today. If you do have any other questions, as we say goodbye, please type them in. If you notice on your screen right now, Ted's contact information is right there. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact him. My contact information is just brian@autosuccessonline.com, and it's Brian with an I. Please feel free to reach out to both of us. If you have not already, please join AutoSuccess webinars, and please interact with each other as you try to implement video into your dealerships. Share your successes, share your failures, and we'll all learn together. Ted, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we say goodbye today?
Just thank you for attending, and thank you for listening, and good luck with all your video endeavors.
Well, great. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon.